you have to understand that these kids, like their foreparents who came before them, are now deemed to be unqualified to be rulers and leaders, and you got to understand it's by design. If we don't wake up, then we are setting our children up.
Hi, this is Bishop James Dixon at the Community of Faith Church in Houston, Texas, welcoming you to the Empowered by Faith broadcast. So excited to bring to you a message series this week entitled, Are You Woke? I'm telling you, it's going to bless your life. And by the way, thank you for praying with us and for supporting our ministry. The Community of Faith Church empowers people to become visible manifestations of the power of God in the presence of people. If you want to check us out, every Sunday at 10 o'clock a.m., our live worship is on Facebook. You can watch us this coming Sunday and tell your friends about it because it will certainly change your life. Our church is a church like none other. We make an impact every day in the lives of people in our community. In fact, right after this message, I'll be back with the word, Are You Woke? Watch this. I'll be back in a moment.
These are perilous times for America. The social climate is impacted by racial injustice, a broken criminal justice system that unjustly punishes poor people and people of color. The ongoing story of police brutality against unarmed people has strained relationships between the community and law enforcement. And add to this, the voter suppression movement, where states like Texas are enacting laws that are designed to decrease black and brown voter participation. So, what does the church do in the midst of this kind of social turmoil? Well, the church should be doing what Bishop James Dixon and the Community of Faith is doing. We are leading the fight for justice, equality, and righteousness. I am glad to be a part of a church that doesn't remain silent when unarmed men and women are being killed by police. Everyone knows that Bishop Dixon is God's voice for social justice and for positive changes in our society. Some people talk it, Bishop Dixon walks it. Yes, the Community of Faith keeps proving that it's a battleship church, not a cruise ship. In addition to being an anointed preacher and pastor, Bishop Dixon is a real leader who serves to empower his community. So you see him in Austin at the Capitol, challenging lawmakers to pass laws to combat child sex trafficking. Bishop Dixon is there to fight against voter suppression. You see him standing with other leaders, speaking truth to power in behalf of the less fortunate. I am happy to partner with Bishop Dixon because I know he's not in it for himself. He's dedicated to the hard work of fighting for the people. That's why, my friends, you should partner with James Dixon Ministries. Praying and supporting James Dixon Ministries makes a much needed difference. So go to jamesdixonministries.org to become a partner today. We thank God for your support. And if you're looking for a church, a real church, a battleship church, look no further. You found it. It's the Community of Faith, and we welcome you to your new church family.
My subject today is, Are You Woke? Are You Woke? That's part one. This is a series, Are You Woke? And I'm blessed today to be surrounded by rich potential in the personalities of these youth who are seated here with me on the stage today. And I wish you could get to know each of them individually because each of them are loaded with what we call potential. And they represent, even though they don't fully understand it, they represent the future of their generation. They represent the future of their generation and the future of our culture, the future of our culture, the future of the church, the future of the church. And generations that are yet to be born will be dependent upon how they are prepared and developed right now. And I'm reminded of a statement that my dear friend and mentor made concerning myself years ago. Mr. Howard Jefferson, former president of the NAACP in Houston, a businessman and consummate activist. He's now on the national board of the NAACP. I never forget he sat down with me in an office. We were speaking with a superintendent of HISD at the time, addressing a challenge, an issue, and Pastor Dr. Bill Lawson was in that meeting with us. And as we discussed the problem, I didn't have a lot to say because I was in the presence of the Howard Jefferson and the Reverend Dr. Bill William Lawson. So I listened more than I talked. And near the conclusion of the conversation, the superintendent said these words. He said, well, Mr. Jefferson and Reverend Lawson, I've heard the issue, and let me look into it, and I will give you, Brother Howard, or you, Reverend Lawson, a call back to talk about how we move forward. And Howard Jefferson said, nope, you're not going to call me back. He said, you're going to call Reverend Dixon. He said, you're going to call Reverend Dixon. He said, because Reverend Lawson and I represent the past and the present, but Reverend Dixon represents the present and the future. It was a chill in the room. He said, so I want you call Reverend Dixon back. He is going to be prepared to lead the way forward. Reverend Lawson and myself, we've got his back, but call Reverend Dixon. I will never forget that moment when he demonstrated the trust he had in me to lead this issue forward with HISD. Those words, Reverend Lawson and I represent the past and the present. Reverend Dixon represents the present and the future. Oh, a great debt of gratitude to a man who would entrust that kind of assignment to me. As I'm standing on this stage today, I'm more and more aware of the fact that the more the days and the months and the years go by, all of us get closer to that place to where we represent the past and the present. And we must understand the need to invest in our youth properly because they represent the present and the future. The present and the future. And so I raised the question today in the face of what we are dealing with in our country and in our county and city and in the world. Are you woke? Are you woke? Are you aware? Are you, what's your perception? Do you understand where we are? The passage I've read in 1 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 32, the men of Issachar understood the times, and they knew what Israel must do. In other words, they were woke. They were woke. And I want every parent in particular, and I want all of the youth who are listening to this message, and parents, be sure they listen to this message, because this is the time you gotta be woke. You gotta be woke. You gotta be woke. You've got to be politically and socially woke, spiritually woke. You've got to be aware. You've got to be alert. You've got to be engaged. You have to be woke. And I want to tell you, there are far too many people in our community who ain't woke yet. Right? And God has put it on my heart and on my spirit. It's an assignment from the Lord. I know it is, to help get our people woke and to get young and older and children and teenagers woke, because this is not a time to be asleep. This ain't a time to be detached. This is not a time to be disengaged. This is not a time to be gripped by the insignificant. This is not a time to be trapped with the trivial and in pursuit of the petty. This is the time you gotta be woke. You gotta be woke. You gotta be woke. When this passage says the men of Issachar, the tribe of Issachar, when you read 1 Chronicles chapter 12, you understand the setting of what's going on is they were in a time of transition in terms of leadership. It was a time of transition, and there were groups who had already thought about who the next leader or the king should be. Saul had died. King Saul, the first king of Israel, had died, and they were considering who should replace Saul. and David was in the wings and the one who was anointed. And there were some who understood David should be the next leader, but there were others who were looking for somebody more talented, a little bit older, that had this and that. But only a few people understood what we need is somebody anointed. And I want to say to you right now that what we need in times like these is somebody who is anointed. I need you to understand that what the times are calling for today is not the cutest, not the tallest, not the one with the longest hair, not the one with the prettiest, all that. But the times we're in, y'all, is going to require people who are anointed. Why is that? Well, let me give you several factors about the times we're in, because I'm here today and I need you to hear my heart with all I have. I wish I could just sit down with each of you one-on-one to just expose.
I hope you've been blessed by this message entitled, Are You Woke? And it's going to wake you up even more when we come back in just a moment. But I want to encourage you to be sure and follow me on social media. All of my handles are right there on the screen. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe to my channel, because every day there's something out there that's going to inspire you, encourage you, and bless your life. And remember to join us this coming Sunday at 10 o'clock a.m. for our live morning worship service on Facebook Live. Just go to the Community of Faith. The music, the ministry of the Word of God, you'll be inspired, you'll be ignited and empowered. And thank you for sharing and for praying, because it takes people like you to partner with a ministry like this to make us even stronger. We thank God for you. Now let's go back to the Word.
Well, let me give you several factors about the times we're in, because I'm here today and I need you to hear my heart with all I have. I wish I could just sit down with each of you one-on-one to just expose my heart. God has required me to listen to him. Let me say it to you again. God has required of me to listen to him. And in listening to God, he has given me an insight and foresight about the times we are in and what we must do. That might sound arrogant, that might sound whatever. I'm saying to you with all the humility I can muster, that for some reason, I don't claim any credit. I'm not saying I'm qualified. All I'm saying is I know God is speaking to my spirit. And what God has given me is an insight as to what our circumstance and our predicament really is. And he's given me vision, which is foresight, to know what we must do. And I want to say to you, oh God, I wish I could correspond with you. I can't hear you. You can only hear me. But I want to say to you how vitally important it is that you have a prophetic voice in your life, and a prophetic voice speaking to your family, and a prophetic voice speaking to our community, because otherwise we won't have the insight and the foresight. And without the insight and the foresight, brothers and sisters, we are going to perish. Do you understand? We are on the brinks of destruction and on the brinks of annihilation. Only the prophetic, oh my God, only the prophetic wisdom that comes through divine revelation would be sufficient to get these kids into a future that looks bright. I want to say to you, only prophetic wisdom, only prophetic utterance would be sufficient to get our children and our grandchildren to possess a future that is brighter than ours today. We are in a very precarious place and predicament. There are several things that we cannot deny. One, we cannot deny, neither can we ignore the escalation of white supremacy and its attacks on blacks, browns, and indigenous Americans, and even poor whites. We cannot deny that reality. We cannot deny it, neither can we afford to ignore it. Secondly, we cannot deny, neither can we ignore the impact of predatory capitalism and its effects on generational poverty, mass incarceration, and the intentional destructive influences on public education. I said a lot in one sentence. I'm saying to you that predatory capitalism is controlling public education. Predatory capitalism is controlling how many people and who stays in poverty. You got to understand, predatory capitalism requires certain people to be on the bottom. And the bottom keeps getting bigger while the few at the top keeps getting richer, which means that there are plans for this son, this daughter, this son, this son, this son, and this daughter to be on the bottom and not the top. Policies are being made right now. They are already in place to make sure that they get an average education. Because in the future and in the times that we're in now, average means to fail. And our parents and so many of us, even teachers, are still just teaching class like usual. You're getting ready to go back to school, and there's nothing in the curriculum in a classroom to prepare you for your challenge against predatory capitalism. You say, what is predatory capitalism? That's a capitalistic society that's ruled by an oligarchy, a class of elites who have designed it to make sure that even with a diploma and a degree, you still cannot rise. Oh, God, that's controlling banking policies, economic policies. That's controlling politics and government and laws to make sure that you never become a part of the ruling class. It's predatory capitalism. And most of us have not studied because we ain't woke. We ain't woke. We ain't woke. We cannot thirdly ignore, neither can we deny the realities of masterminded materialism, giant-sized militarism, and the licensing of racism. The enforcement of classism and sexism and the brutish expressions of xenophobia. What is that, Bishop? I'm saying to you that there are literally mastermind plans that are strategically designed to make sure that we are so consumed with materialism that we have nothing left for investment in that which has a future. In other words, you have to understand that it is by design, marketing, propaganda is designed to make sure that our culture, our community, and our youth are so consumed with buying depreciating goods and supporting industries that make the upper class richer while we get dressed up and stay poorer. I need you to understand that there's a masterminded scheme to make sure that you don't have anything at the bank, but you look good in the streets. It's masterminded materialism, and that's why they keep putting people in front of our children with all of the bling and who got drip. They got drip, but they can't control the economy. They got drip, but they don't own a bank. They got drip, but they can't open a franchise. They got drip. Are you hearing me? But they don't have what it takes to protect themselves, their families, their children. You have to understand it. You have to understand. It's called the masterminded materialism and giant-sized militarism. The militarization of America. We spend so much money building a bigger and bigger military. And it's not to protect you, it's to protect the interests of the oligarchy, the ruling class. It's to fight battles on foreign soils so that they can continue to increase their profits through oil and through minerals. And we don't understand that. The militarization of policing that took place and started about 10 years ago. And now police forces are military instinctive, which means that they are there to intimidate those who look like you so that you don't have what it takes in courage and confidence to come up to your potential because they want to keep you in your place. You have to understand that all of the police brutality and the shootings that we see across America, they look disconnected. Because one is over here in this state and in this city. One is in Minnesota. One is in Wisconsin. One is over here in Houston. One is over here in Los Angeles. They are not disconnected. They are connected to a mindset that's determined that if we are going to keep them in their place, we got to intimidate them with violence. Which is why the National Police Union supports the police officers who do the shootings. Oh, God. It's why even in this state, we're up against a major challenge to get laws changed so that you can actually fire police officers who commit murder. It is a serious, and parents, we got to get woke. We got to get woke. We got to know how to teach our young men and young women how to protect themselves, how to defend themselves, how to conduct themselves, and how to participate in the legislative process necessary to get policies and laws changed. But most of us ain't woke. We ain't woke because we're not having the right conversations at the house. We're not woke because we're riding down the street with something else in our ear other than knowledge and information. We ain't woke because even in school, this is not the conversation. We ain't woke because even at church, we're not having the right conversation about the real forces of evil that threaten the well-being of our very own children who we say we love with all of our hearts. Fourthly, we cannot ignore, neither can we deny the reality of the tone of neo-fascism being sounded from the nation's top office and leadership. It's neo-fascism, and in law enforcement, it's in law enforcement, and it's also in conservative evangelical pulpits. Neo-fascism. You have to understand that what we see happening in America that's fueling the racial divide is the neo-fascists who are now promoting supremacy and superiority, that there is a ruling class of a certain bloodline who by DNA have more intelligence than the children sitting on this stage. You have to understand that these kids, like their foreparents who came before them, are now deemed to be unqualified to be rulers and leaders, and you got to understand it's by design. If we don't wake up, then we are setting our children up. I feel like a lone voice crying in the wilderness, but I need you to understand I made God a promise. I would speak loud and cry. I will cry loud and spare not. I will tell truth and speak truth to power if nobody listens, because God has given me an insight and a foresight. An insight and a foresight. And so we see even now, we cannot ignore, neither can we deny the demand for unrestricted immorality by the extreme left. Unrestricted immorality. Yes, listen, I said it. Unrestricted immorality is the order of the day by the ruling class on the left, which means you can be what you want to be, do what you want to do, live like you want to live, because there are no definite rights and wrongs. Our problem is not just with the right wing, we got issues on the left wing. Because the left wing says you can have 5 women, 5 wives, you can have a marriage with your daughter, you can marry and have sex with your pets. You got to understand that we got now an issue where on the left wing they're telling parents you can determine your child's gender at birth. If you wanted to be a boy, you can call him a boy. You want to be a girl, you can call him a girl. That's on the left wing. How are these Christian children going to manage the gospel in an environment when there are no rights or wrongs? And when you're under pressure by the neo-fascists on the right, and then the extreme liberal on the left with no boundaries, how will you maintain your witness for Jesus Christ? How will you preach a gospel that says one man for one woman is a marriage? How will you stand for the rules of God in a society when the very laws will speak against it? This is where we're going, but we ain't woke. we ain't woke. We're still having church as usual. It's a dangerous thing to keep on acting like everything is okay when it's like the frog in the kettle. The frog is comfortable while the water is cool, but the water is slowly heating up. And eventually the frog boils to death. And that's where the church has been.
We sincerely hope you're enjoying the ministry of Bishop James Dixon. We also hope you appreciate the work we're doing to impact our community and the world. To keep up with Dr. Dixon and all we do, follow Bishop Dixon on all social media. Subscribe to his YouTube at Bishop James Dixon. Follow Bishop D on Facebook and Instagram. Stay connected and you'll be amazed at what we're doing to impact the world for Jesus. Stay connected and stay empowered by faith.
Listen, we hate to cut the message. Tomorrow, tune in for more of it because all week the series is entitled, Are You Woke? Are You Woke? There's so many things facing the church, challenging us, so many adversarial forces. The church has to wake up to know what we should do in times like these. So tell your friends about it. Join us tomorrow morning for more Empowered by Faith. And don't forget to support us through your finances and through your prayers. And I know God will bless you for every seed that you sow into this ministry. You can text to give. That information is there. You can do it through our website, or you can simply decide to drop something in the mail. We appreciate your support. And remember, whatever you sow into the kingdom of God, that's a harvest that God will grow in your life. You can never outgive God because He's going to always beat your giving. Thank God for you. Join us tomorrow for more Empowered by Faith.
We thank you for tuning in today. We're certain this end time message has been relatable, resourceful, and is refueling you to want to make changes in order to be a change agent for yourself, your family, your community, state, and yes, this nation. This is not it. There's more. To receive this message in its entirety, simply go to thecommunityoffaith.org, click on the e-giving prompt. Here you'll click on the donation button, and you'll find this message available as an MP3 or MP4. Or you may purchase by text, texting the word GIVE, that's GIVE, to 713-338-9011. Select this message and format preferences. Both are secure ways to obtain this message today.